All right, everyone, and welcome to my 2020 Fiat 124 Spider Abarth. So this is going to be a driving impressions video. It's going to be my first time really driving it in anger on a back roads. We have swapped on some new tires, so it comes standard with the Bridgestone RE050s, which is a summer tire. Since we live in the Northeast in Maryland, and it's wintertime, we have put on some Michelin Pilot Sport all-season 4 tires. Still a extremely good tire. I expect it to perform extremely well today here in our now dry conditions. We've been dealing with a lot of snow up here lately. We just had some rain the other day to wash all the salt off the road, so the road should be hopefully fairly clean. But let's get into the specs of the vehicle today. So it's, like I said, 2020 Fiat 124 Spider Abarth, 164 horsepower, 184 pound-feet of torque. The weight on these cars is roughly 24 to 2,500 pounds. 6-speed manual transmission, 2 seats, and yeah, should be a good time. Like I said, lightweight, decent amount of power. This is a 1.4 liter turbo engine, not like the Miata, which is a naturally aspirated engine. So when we're driving, I'll explain a little bit about the power delivery of this turbo engine. But good thing about the turbo engine is on the highway it gets 35 miles a gallon, which I have experienced it. We've had this car for roughly 800 miles now, about 3 weeks, and maybe 4 weeks. But it does get the advertised fuel mileage of 35 miles per gallon on the highway. All right, so with that, we just went over the specs. Let's go ahead and get on the road. All right, so we're pulling out here. One thing I will say is this car has the optional record Monza exhaust, so it is going to be quite a bit louder than the standard Abarth. We're going to start off in normal mode now, no sport mode, and let's go ahead and get into it. So I guess we'll start off by talking about the power delivery. So like I said, 1.4 liter turbo engine, same engine out of the Fiat 500s that have been around for, let's say, almost a decade now. Son of a... So, 1.4 liter turbo engine that has been around since the, say, 2010-ish time frame with the 500 Abarth. But it's, just going to start tossing this in here a little bit. Very, very good handling so far. But back to the engine power delivery. Alright, so the power delivery on the 1.4 liter turbo, let's say you have usable torque from, let's say, roughly 3,000 to, let's say, 5,500 RPM. Before the 3,000 mark, you're kind of waiting on a bit of turbo lag. After 5,500 RPM, since the turbo is so small, you do feel like it starts to die off. Now, one thing you could do, I'm assuming, is get the car tuned, which would help fix that top-end power, which most likely we will end up doing on this car. But for stock drivability, as long as you have experience with a turbo car and you know how to operate it within, to keep it within its power band, you know, when you're really trying to be aggressive with it, it responds just fine, especially once you put it in sport mode, which we will go ahead and do now. The throttle response is noticeably quicker. Alright, now we're moving on. So let's go into the handling a bit. We just talked about the engine response. Handling. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to be quiet for a couple corners, enjoy the front-facing camera, and we're going to chuck this thing around some corners real quick. So right away, immediately, you notice that very sharp, direct turn in. It seems like you want to turn it in, point it where you want it to go, let the front end settle, and then the rear of the car is actually very, very happy. It rotates around very, very well. Steering is really light, so you can kind of just place it. You don't have to fight the car. You just kind of place it wherever you want. If you have a corner that's changing radius, you just make your minute adjustments, and then the front end just kind of darts right in. It's actually very nice. The pedals are easily positioned for not only rev matching, but heel toe, braking, and shifting as well. Very good car. So we got a little straightaway coming up here. Let's drop in some gears because we don't need to, go too far with the speed limit. So second gear pull for 4,000. Okay, it kind of pulls to about 6, and then 6 grand, and then it kind of dies off. Braking. So, okay, so kind of learned a lot there. The brakes, so on this car we have the standard brakes. There is an optional Brembo brake upgrade. I don't necessarily feel that on a car that weighs 2,400 pounds, you need to spend, $1,000. I think that's what it is. Probably about $1,000 upgrade. If I'm wrong, go ahead and correct me in the comments, but there's really no reason to get Brembo brakes on a car that's this light. If you want to upgrade the brakes, I think the best bet would be to do more of a pad and fluid swap. So let's get turned around here, go back up the road. So like I was saying, a pad and fluid swap will most likely be your best bet if you wanted to upgrade the stock braking performance, but so far I haven't had any issues with them. I'm sure if you're doing autocross or track days, you'd run into some issues with the smaller brakes, but that's nothing. The brake pads and fluid's going to be cheap for this car anyway because the brakes are so small. So save the money on the Brembos, get yourself the stock brakes, upgrade the pads and fluid if you have to. But I will say the power delivery did actually feel a little bit stronger than what I've experienced before. Just driving around on the street. On the street it felt kind of lazy. Maybe that was because I didn't have it in sport mode. I don't think the sport mode necessarily made a big difference on the top end, but it did seem to pull a little harder, maybe up to 6 grand, albeit we're going kind of downhill instead of uphill. But for the amount of power this car has, and it being so lightweight, it actually, it goes decently, we'll say. It's faster than the Durango RT we just replaced it with. So it's usable power. You can full throttle it through corners if you have the skill or the means to, we'll say. But let's go ahead and chuck it into some more corners here going downhill and see how the brakes respond and how the car feels if it gets too oversteering going into a corner. So we're going, pretty rapid speeds now, chucking it in here. Front sticks, rear end rotates. Oh, this is beautiful. This is absolutely just amazing. And these all-season Michelins, downshift, rev match, boom. These Michelins are just, that's so good. That's a really sharp hairpin corner right there, and it just soaked it right up at a fairly high rate of speed. This is really fun. Yeah. And then you just see it started, the corner got tighter, so the car started to wash out into the middle of the road. Just cranked some more wheel into it. It turned right in and hooked, and the rear end rotated around nicely. Keep it some maintenance throttle to keep it in the power band. And this thing is just an absolute backroads missile. Speed we're going to is quite impressive. It's not, mind-bending supercar fast, but we got some stuff on the road here. Let's go ahead and avoid that. It's a very nice stretch of road here, but unfortunately It's not very long, it's only like a mile or two, but this is one of my favorite stretches in our area around here. So let's go ahead and flip around and then do a final pass going back and see if I cover anything else. Alright, so we're going back down the other way now. I will say one thing that is kind of annoying, but it's kind of also very prevalent in most manual cars. The first gear is very aggressive, so your 1-2 shift, you know, takes some time to be smooth with it. You can't just be real quick about it, or else the car gets real jerky, but that's nothing to really complain about. It's kind of how most manual cars are. At mid-range torque, so I'm in third gear, 3,000 RPM, and then you just floor it. There's like a half a second of turbo lag, and then it's a really nice shove in the back from the turbo. It's not Hellcat fast like my Hellcat, obviously, but it's a really nice sensation. You feel everything coming right through the back of the seat. The sound really helps. The record Monza exhaust. That's why we ended up choosing this car over the Miata. The Miata, sure, it's going to drive very similar to this. It's going to be just as fast as this, but the sound that this makes, you will not get the sound out of a Miata, and it adds everything. And then in some cases, I've gotten it too when I'm driving around. You can get little backfires and pops out of the exhaust too when you're doing a full throttle shift. So we got a nice section here. I'm gonna just be quiet and go toss it through these corners real quick. Nice hairpin here. Oh, money. The rear end it follows the front so nicely. We are moving around these corners, and oh, this is so nice. That's beautiful. And this is on all season tires, and we were cooking 50-60 miles an hour around those corners, and this is something special. This really is something special. If you haven't driven a Miata or a 124 yet, just go try one. Like, they will recalibrate your brain on what a sports car should be able to do. This has been fantastic. This is exactly what I was hoping this car was going to be, and it lived up to all my expectations. And the tire choice that we made on this car is absolutely spot on for what I was hoping it was going to do. There was only a very slight amount of tire noise on the front left when I was really cranking in some of those right-hand corners there near the end. But we were going at a pretty significant speed, and it just worked. That was good. So thank you all for watching. If you have any other content ideas for us to film with this car, go ahead and drop them in the comments below. If I said anything wrong, or go ahead and feel free to correct me. But yeah, it's been this is everything that I hoped this car would be when we got it. So stay tuned. We're probably gonna do some autocrossing this year, or in 2021 with it. Some road course racing. We are planning on modifying a little bit, so if you want to see more of that adventure, go ahead, feel free to subscribe, and like this video if you did enjoy it. Take care. Have a great day.